come to shut you down, they don't send the police. They send the California Department of Tax and Fee to come and take all your money if you owe them tax money. That's how they shut you down. So it's definitely been a challenge. And Scooby, I'd like to ask you some of the struggles that you've been through. What are the struggles you've been through, starting your company in 2010 and now it's 10 years later? And how many things have you been through? Because you used to have a dispensary in North Hollywood, way before legalization.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of struggles. I mean, it's been really really hard for me, especially me coming like I'm minority and coming from a third world country and having to grow up and do the most, and then I mean I don't come from money, and like it was really hard to kind of get it going. And back in 2013, I had like a trap shop in North Hollywood on Lancashire and Oxnard, and
If anybody doesn't know what a trap shop is, raise your hand.
a trap shop is an unlicensed dispensary that
But back in the day, it wasn't, if you had a collective, all you had to do was start a not-for-profit and have a collective, and it was legal back in that time.
it was gray area legal, I guess, but we still considered it a trap shop, and the name of the spot was just called The Shop. There was no name for it. I don't even remember signing any paperwork to open that dispensary. And but we got shut down. We got closed down. They came and shut us down, and then we're back on the streets. I mean, that's just one of many things. But I put a lot of time, a lot of effort into opening that, and it was kind of one of the reasons why it's legal today, right? Because during that time, a lot of people were doing these, I call them trap shops, but they were called collectives at the time. So all these collectives were opening, popping up, and that's really what created this industry that we're in today, right? Because there was we created a need for cannabis, and people started getting a lot of education and learning about what cannabis was doing, and that's what, got us where we're at today, right? Because of all of that. But it was a lot of struggle, and it's still a lot of struggle today. Now that we do have the legal dispensary, I mean, we're users ourselves, right? Like, and we understand like the market. So, like, we don't want to charge all that money, and like our dispensary right now in the valley has the lowest prices from any dispensary. Like, we're not making what other dispensaries are making because we want to, like, we're part of that community. So we're making less than like super low, just to like keep it like the medicine flowing through the neighborhood, and like that's a struggle itself because it's tough to keep it open because we're not making a lot of money, and it takes a lot of money. The government wants the money, you gotta have security is expensive and all these things to just kind of like, for us, I mean, the way I see it is like we're just kind of trying to give it back to our community, like we grew up in that area. I grew up in that area, and I'm just there to like help out more people. But it's tough for an operator to do that because there's all these elements that kind of take that fun away. You got to deal with paperwork. You got to deal with
Track and trace.
Track and trace,
And now
metric.
this is something that you never, as far as the way that marijuana, cannabis, as far as cannabis being depicted in the media, this is the side of it you never see. If there is,
That's
like
true.
she mentioned, I was recently in Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. Is anybody watching that by chance?
I am.
And it's really weird because the scenes that I'm in are all cannabis centric. There's a whole cannabis plot line in it. And the cannabis plot line is that he's helping this dispensary launder their money because they can't use banks. And that's why there's $500,000 in this guy's safe. But in reality, you can use banks. No one has $500,000 in their safe. The dispensary in Tulsa King that has $500,000 in the safe also, plus it's in Oklahoma, has a guard with no gun. That doesn't happen at all. Like, everybody in an Oklahoma dispensary has a gun because all you have to do is go to the store and buy one.
It's open carry there, so
Yeah.
you can just open carry. No
I mean, you'll
permit
see like
necessary.
20-year-old bartenders that look like sorority girls who probably are packing. Nobody has to launder their money. they gave me like a fake purchase. It was
$400.
Yeah, $400
receipt.
half ounce. You know, everything about it. I mean, it was fun to do and it's fun to watch, and that's great. But it's frustrating, and I'm like, this is how cops feel watching police drama, where everything is wrong. And as far as like Tommy, what's the first time you remember seeing like somebody on TV smoking or in a movie? Like, what got you interested that you saw? Is it music?
In movies or drugs?
What movies got you interested in cannabis?
Oh, you know, I definitely saw Half Baked on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And the highly edited version, and then proceeded on VHS to watch it. I was laughing. I actually, I auditioned for the role of the gunless security guard on Tulsa King. And I too thought that was kind of strange. Because they were like, you have like you have a can of bear mace or something like that. Right. It was in the script. They were like, you can pull out your bear mace, which I used a shaving cream can for. Didn't get the part. But yeah, definitely Half Baked.
Funny.
Half Baked, and then like, you know, I think one of the funny things, I think the show that did a little bit of a kind of split the difference of demonizing and also normalizing was that 70s show weirdly, right? Because they would do the scenes where they would do the 360 camera where they were all getting high. But the thing that they did was they made them, you know, complete idiotic buffoons once they were high.
Right.
So there was like, you know, that kind of showed you the side of it that was like the stereotypical, like if you take a hit off a joint, you're going to be incoherent, or you know.
Like sometimes that's the writer, the producer. I remember the first time I saw, and I'm a little older than everybody here. By the time I saw Half Baked, I was in college and already sold weed. But still, I didn't even see it actually until 2017. But I remember in the movie Friday.
Why did you wait that long to see that movie?
I don't know.
It's so pertinent to your interests.
You know when there's like a painting of a guy painting a picture, of a guy painting a picture.
It's too close
like,
to your
yeah,
home.
I felt until I got invited to like an industry screening at the Wilter, and I was like, I'll see Half Baked.
Okay.
And it was great, but they get high and they fly around the city. It's still a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Because in Friday, which was written by Ice Cube, who you know smokes weed, and you know what happens. Like Ice Cube is completely aware of the fact that he's not going to see his own decapitated head in the cabinet when he goes to get Kool-Aid just because he smoked one joint.
Right.
I mean, I don't know him personally, but I don't think. And I mean, when I was a kid, it was like for a hot second, it was normal. I remember seeing 9 to 5.
Was Dolly Parton?
Totally mainstream movie, like super mainstream. Hit song. It's like 3 working women. They get stoned together with weed that one of them stole from their 12-year-old son's room. They get the munchies, they eat corn chips, and it was treated totally normal. And then like Reagan got elected the next year, and suddenly all of the cannabis content got crazy. It's like, your druggy son is selling this and that.
Well, to add to Tommy's point, did anybody see Disjointed on Netflix? Did you guys like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. A little on the fence there, huh? Like, what was interesting to me about Disjointed was that in the turn of legalization, they had so many opportunities to cover some real interesting stuff, and they sort of beat down home the point of, oh, this is stoner life and stoner culture, like there's smoking in the grow room, and that would just never happen. It's illegal to consume on site. It is actually a $30,000 fine and mandatory revocation of license if you get caught with like a roach on site.
Wow.
That kind of makes sense to me because most popular, like the definition of popular, is that you're pandering to a wide group of people who probably don't understand the nuances of it. So like, I think that's stupid that they do it, but I get it that like, if you show, I have 15 aunts and uncles, right? My mom's one of 7, my dad's one of 8. If you show them that, they're probably like, oh yeah, that's probably what it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you just take like a poll of a large group of people. So they probably, the network, who's also probably clueless in their own right, just notes them and are like, yeah, you gotta make it, we gotta boil everything down to a stereotype. Just like, you know, police shows are all stereotypes, fire shows, medical shows, they're all boiled down to stereotypes. So it kind of, I mean, to to actually represent someone's like livelihood or the way a business works on a TV show probably would confuse 90% of the audience because they're like, this doesn't line up with the stereotypes I've been spoon-fed for years and years and years. So and especially it's crazy, like destroying a show about a dispensary can't even do that accurate. Like they can't even show.
Yeah, if you want to see something that gets it right every single time, Reservation Dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's set in Oklahoma, and it's mostly they're going to shops that are a little closer to the reservation, that are outside of the city, and it is exactly like that. Like you go in, and there's one guy, and he's hitting a bong, he offers it to you. But like an Oklahoma Indian store is really different than if you go to a dispensary here in Beverly Hills. It's a world of difference. But Reservation Dogs, every single reference that they make, every way that anybody behaves, they even talk about the differences between how it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
And also Caillou, because he doesn't always make the right choice. You know, little kids are naughty. They don't always do the right thing. And Caillou, you know, he'll misbehave and there's consequences.
It's true.
So those two shows, I think, do it right.
It took me a
Caillou-
second to even remember what you were talking about.
Because
But
it's,
now
so,
I know-
it's so real, you probably don't even register that it's a TV show.
Now I know how it's pronounced.
You know, it was Caillou.
I thought it was Kalui or something.
It's Caillou.
Well, what's funny is that if you think about it, cannabis really doesn't discriminate. There are no stereotypes when it comes to cannabis. It doesn't, it's not one type of stereotype or archetype of person, you know? There's people that are sick and need it for cancer, and then there's your soccer mom. And every time that I've seen firefighters coming through any kind of cannabis show, I always ask them, what kind of situations do you deal with when you're dealing with people that overdose? And they're like, it's always the soccer mom. She ate the edible, she went to the soccer game, she got too high, she thought she was dying. Every time, hands down. So it really doesn't discriminate, you know? Anybody from 18 to 65 and older, doesn't matter what kind of background that you come from the 1%, you smoke weed, you're poor, you smoke weed, you know? I got $5, what can I get? I smoke weed, you know?
And it's funny you say like it is like people grow into it, like people evolve. My the aforementioned family, like when we were younger, it was very strict. Like they were like, don't do drugs, don't ever smoke weed. Like weed was demonized on the level of like any other drug. And now, as we're all adults, my aunts are like, do you know where we can get edibles or like anything? And like it's very legitimate. Like my friend's dad, one of the first times I actually really saw the medical, like fully the medical benefits of it is my friend's dad, who's, works with his hands his entire life. He needs, like, the only thing that relieves his arthritis pain is THC. Like, it's like the one thing that works for him. So it's like, that guy, I mean, sure, I'm sure he derives a little pleasure out of it, but it's like, it's also maintenance for him. Right?
You know,